Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin Christians. All right, guys, what is going on? Okay, now we're getting into some weird stuff I don't know about. So what's going on, dudes? Trey is dealing with family medical issue, so hopefully he'll be back next week. And
everything's good.
So yeah, always miss it when Trey's not here. But
should we start it off like last time?
Shut up.
Yeah, BS.
Get it out of the way. Yeah. So what's been going on, guys?
I just got back from Charlotte last night late. I was there from Monday through last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the vibe there?
It was interesting, actually. The whole town was like, it's kind of blue, we'll say.
Most big cities are.
Yeah, but I remember during the Black Lives Matter stuff, like all the riots and stuff downtown, because I was there during all that. And but it was a little interesting. Like people weren't. It wasn't. It's like had part of it you could tell like they were like definitely leaning blue and trying to push you that direction. But then like a lot of people just didn't really seem to care. So I don't know.
I was gonna say we're a few days past the election. Some people elected a person, so we thought obviously we're going to touch on that today.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Did you stay up, watch any of it?
You know what? I stayed up, and then what is it, Halo, the prayer thing?
Oh yeah.
They had a commercial on Fox News, so I was watching it, and they were just praying for the country, not for a candidate. And I was kind of tired, and I was like, do I want to stay up? And that came on for like the fourth time. I was like, you know what? I think that's pretty much the right attitude. And I went to bed.
Yeah.
I didn't even turn it on.
Really?
Because I told you guys last time, it's like, I'm going to be at the point where God's in control. It is what it is. I can't do anything to change it.
Right.
I mean, I voted, but what are we going to do,
Yeah.
So you didn't need an emotional support duck?
Support duck.
Did you see that?
No.
I've seen
one of the colleges had emotional support dogs and ducks that you could go up and like
hug.
I don't know, rent or whatever.
Well, I did see that there were a number of universities who canceled classes the next day.
Right.
And there were, I don't know, safe spaces and stuff like that for people that were traumatized by the result of the election. In the wake of the election is what one article actually read.
In the wake of the election.
Right. So yeah, I guess if you don't have a faith in God and a higher power that you believe everything's gonna be okay, what do you base your comfort on?
What I'm curious is like if Trump didn't win, Kamala wins. Do they have emotional support ducks?
No, I don't think so.
We don't need them, and that's the whole thing now with the media going. They're having to take a look at what actually they did. Every outlet was for Trump. Every late night show, Kimmel, all of them. And he was weeping the other night.
Sure.
Fucking baby.
Oh my God. Over Ukraine and
the list of things that he said were affected by it. He said the climate. He said old people with their benefits, and he was just like everything you could imagine is now going to be worse because of this.
right.
And so it's just crazy to have that perspective. Like you have nothing else to hope in or to cling to if you don't have a belief in God.
Well, the thing is listening to Joyless Behar and all of them on The View, and the one, I don't even know what her name is because I don't watch The View, but I had to turn on CNN and listen to all these guys after. It was such a good day.
I didn't get a chance to because I was like back-to-back meetings for 12 hours. So.
I did, and O'Donnell didn't even know that butter was $7. His wife had to tell him that butter's $7.
I did see that outtake. She was like, "Yeah, butter's $3." She goes, "No, it's $7."
And she's the one was saying that black men and Hispanic men are misogynist. I'm so tired of us demoralizing men. We have been so emasculated in this country that we are, we're toxic, and every commercial now is you look at the white guy and he's fat and ugly and stupid, or he's staying home doing laundry, which I have no problem with that if you're a stay-at-home dad. But what I'm saying is they've done that, Well, men are simple, Brad. We are simple human beings. We don't need a whole lot. My wife was talking to me that night, and it was like 20 minutes in, and she looks at me and goes, "You're not listening to a word I'm saying." She goes, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Well, it's kind of thinking about, how does the pool table know when it shoots out the cue ball instead of the rest of the balls? Or, a giraffe, what is it like for a giraffe to throw up? I mean, it's got a 30-foot freaking neck.
Nice.
And I was thinking, why do they have Braille at ATMs?
Right?
Who's driving a blind and getting money out of an ATM?
Right.
That's the kind of stupid stuff that I think about it, because I'm a simple guy. I'm not misogynistic. I love, and then dipshit Mark Cuban talking about Trump doesn't surround himself with intelligent women. He just appointed a chief of staff, and she's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think enough people were tired of that narrative as well, because we saw a swing like we've never seen in political history. Different groups that swung from one side to the other for this election. So I think the people on the ground level were not buying it.
Mm-hmm. We're not garbage. We're not garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
hardworking people. That garbage truck incident,
I love it.
That was hilarious.
I looked it up, and there's 161 million registered voters in the country, and we've got a population of like 334 million. So, and not even all those 161. So, that's like less than half the country.
I think
it was even registered,
right?
But not even all of them voted. I think the final vote count was somewhere around 150 million.
Yeah,
so everybody I know voted. So it's weird to think that over half the country didn't even go to the polls. Like, and who knows? I don't know. Maybe they're just sick of the whole political process and don't think it's gonna matter. So a lot of people probably stay at home. Right. But we talked about this a few weeks ago about how God's providence and his plan for mankind, and when he returns, all that stuff is not affected by who's in office, who gets elected. So that's not going to alter what he wants to do. He's going to do what he wants to do.
True.
But, depending on who we elect, it can affect our daily lives. We've seen prices go up with gas and food, and we've seen proposals for taxpayer money to fund gender reassignment surgeries to inmates and just crazy stuff like that. So, yeah, that does affect us on a ground level. But we still trust in the God who's going to have his way, and he's going to work all things together for our good.
What I really want is less government in my life. They've been telling us that we're going to melt, for the last 30, 40 years, and it still hasn't happened.
I will say, I heard, I was listening to Trump one day, and they asked some question around this, and I'm not going to get the verbiage right, so I'll just say the context of what he's saying. Essentially, he was like, it's going to take 20 to 30,000 years for that to happen. He was like, so let's figure out what we got to do today. And I get it, right? Like, I don't want to do things today that'll hurt the future if I can help it, but I also need to get through today.
Right.
Well, a few weeks ago, I was reading, before the election, I was just going through my daily Bible reading, and I came across some scripture in 1 Samuel that I thought was kind of interesting. 1 Samuel 8, verse 5 and 7, the elders came to Samuel, and they said, "Behold, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint for us a king to judge us like all the nations." And the Lord said to Samuel, "Obey the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them."
That's so true.
So the Israelites, they wanted to be like the other nations. So God had been their king and their ruler, and had guided them through the desert, brought them into the land, and had defeated their foes. He had done all these things for them. But they looked at the other nations and said, well, we want a king like them. And so God says, yeah, okay, if they want a king, let them have it, and they'll see what happens. And so Samuel tells the people, he gives them like a whole list. Okay, you want a king? This is what's going to happen if you want a king. And the last thing he says, the king, he will take 1/10 of your flocks, and you shall be his slaves. And in that day you will cry out because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourselves. But the Lord will not answer you in that day. And then after he tells the people this, they said, but the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel. And they said, "No, but there shall be a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles." So, again, do we look at our leaders and politicians to be the judge of us, to go out and fight our battles?
That's why our people are melting down. Of course they do. And you made a point earlier. What do people do without the Lord?
Right. So they're putting all their eggs in that basket.
Exactly.
So if their candidate doesn't win, then they got to cancel class. They can't go to school the next day because they're worried about people's feelings. And I understand. I think there are people that are truly despondent, but it's misguided because they have nothing else to hope in. except for their elected leaders.
Well, that's the issue, right? Is that they put so much into this, what's going to happen in this election that I mean, it would cause mental issues. I mean, if you think the world is going to turn upside down because one person's elected into office, I mean, listen,
well, and that's what people are saying. It's the end of democracy. I've seen America died last night. Like
or did America actually democracy win? You know what I mean? Think about it. I mean, if you're on the other side of the coin, I'm thinking it went pretty damn well.
Sure.
Trump finally broke the system. The Republicans didn't want him in there either. They did.
The rhinos, yeah, I know.
I mean, at the end of the day, he just had enough money where he didn't need their money.
Mm-hmm.
But Trump broke it. So the Republicans had to get behind him because he won the first election. Now he has to be the guy. And now he's got the left, the far left, and the middle left arguing to the point where, that party's falling apart right now.
Well, look, they went too far left. My parents were Kennedy Democrats. There's no such thing anymore. No. And if you look at Kennedy's, what he was stood for and things he did, today he'd be a Republican.
Well, that's exactly what's happened now, and I think that's what we saw on the 5th, was people flip-flopping over, and they're like, hey, we've had enough. We're going to the party that actually is going our direction, where we need to be.
We talked about this before. With Christianity and the Bible and God, you have an anchor that has stood the test of time, and they've done surveys, and basically conservatives, Republicans, they haven't moved their positions in 50 years. We pretty much believe what we did back then, but the Democrats, the progressives, by their very nature, they have to keep progressing. They have to keep moving to the left. And so, like you said, politicians, the Democrats, 30 years ago, would now be considered conservative because the other side they have to keep moving. But we have an anchor that we know we know what the truth is, and we don't have to deviate from that.
All people want is more money in their pocket at the end of the day and less government intrusion. And it's gone so far into all of our lives that some people don't even see it. And the restrictions on, the cafe standards on vehicle, it just ticks me off because it costs us more money. So who do we pass that on to? You guys and myself. This is a scripture I woke up to. I don't know if Bible app did this on purpose, but this is what I woke up to.
We've got an algorithm.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, this was perfect. John 14:27. You, my perfect peace I give to you, not as the world gives, do I give to you. Do not let your heart be troubled, or let it be afraid. Let my perfect peace calm you in every circumstance and give you courage and strength for every challenge. That was Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Okay, and as a non-believer, you can't go to that and get perfect peace.
Right. No.
Your peace is in men. And I heard Aaron Conrad, I don't know if it was yesterday or not, and he was playing some music, and he said, just be still. Just be still. And guys, realistically, I would have been disappointed Wednesday morning.
Sure.
But I told you a while back, I would be still. I would just continue to go on with my life and live it according to the way Christ wants me to do it. I would still do the two things that he asked us to do, believe and love. I would believe in him with my whole soul, heart, mind, and body, and I would love people and try to do my best other than on I-75 yesterday. And I can't.
What happened yesterday?
Oh, my gosh. Did you? Oh, yeah.
Tell the story. We want to hear you.
There was 25 vehicles in the left lane going 60-some miles an hour.
Yes.
And I finally got around this dude in the middle lane, and I look in the right lane, and there's nobody in the right lane.
Oh, yeah.
And I blew past all 20-some vehicles and got around, and I was like, I've got to get a handle on it. I know I have to. It's one of my worst issues. And
I'm with you, brother. I see it all the time. We drive to Jacksonville frequently, and there's always somebody going too slow in the left lane. It creates an unnatural traffic flow, which becomes more dangerous.
Exactly.
Because you're passing on the right side, and but the people are obstinate. They won't move. It's like, dude, there's 10 cars.
They have a right. Get out. They have a right. That's their right.
I had a guy last night who was driving 70 miles an hour in the left lane. So I go to pass him. I'm doing 85. And now he's doing 85.
Yep.
Oh, he sped up?
He sped
That's
up.
another thing that takes me off.
And then, so of course, then I end up behind some other car. So I'm back behind him. Now he's going 85. And I'm like, I didn't really want to be going 85. I was going 85 to get by you.
Sure.
So then, like, he's slowing back down to 70 again. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. Like,
I think we all are.
I was so
We gotta
mad.
go get counseling, guys. We're gonna do a road rage, Cussin Christians
Yeah.
incident.
I was talking to my buddy who was a cop at the time, too. I was like, I got a stretch to go, and I probably hit 105 to get by him. I was like, if you're going to catch me, just catch me. Like,
And then once you got past him, you probably backed off and disappeared into the darkness, going 70 again.
yeah.
Laughing.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, a few years ago, we were in Germany, and growing up as a kid, I thought the Autobahn was like the Beltway, like it was one road. But when we got there, I'm like, oh, it's like all the highways, the open highways, that's the Autobahn. You drive as fast as you want. And I'd never driven like 120 before, but I was driving 120. I'm like, this is cool. Like, these are my people. But like the drivers there, they will get out of the way. They'll see you coming. They'll anticipate. They'll scoot right out of the way. I never had to wait once behind somebody. But here I am going in the left lane, 120, and I just happened to look up in my rearview mirror, and there was a car flying up behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh crap! So I got over real quick. This dude must have been doing 150. I was right by me. But the drivers in Europe, it's like they have no problem getting over. What is it about our drivers here that's like, no, I'm not moving. I'm just going to sit here and let 10 cars pile up behind me.
I don't know. I really don't. I know we got off for
I was going to say, that's a major bunny trail, but I'm glad we went there because obviously it's an issue in our country.
I need to
It's an
get
issue
off
with
the
me.
chest.
I do too. I got to get it
I'll
off.
vote for whatever candidate is going to legislate. It's going to fix slow drivers in the left lane. 'Cause it's
Make the left lane again.
make the left lane fast again.
There you go. Michelle's always grabbing. I can see her out of the corner of my eye. She's grabbing the handle or grabbing the door because I get in the left lane to pass.
Right.
The other one, just to get one more off my chest,
Okay.
is the circle of death over in Vieira.
Oh my word.
And I don't know, like, why they'll drive very slow up to it, and then it's all of a sudden like, let's see how fast we can go in the circle. It's not what it's designed for.
No.
And like, if you go to, like, I've been to India, and obviously we've talked about it. They're like 9 or 10 lanes wide.
The circles.
The circles, yeah. And it looks like a school of fish. They just kind of come in and like bob and weave, but everybody's going nice and slow. But traffic never stops. All 4 directions. They just weave themselves right in. And we can't figure out how to do it with 2.
Yeah. Drivers overseas are just a lot smarter than drivers here.
I think
We did one of those in Paris. It was like 5 lanes. It was a big traffic circle, but 3/4 of the way through it, everybody stopped and there was a lane cutting across it, like 5 lanes cutting across. And I'm like, what is this? Like, why are we stopping? And then all these cars were coming across the side, kind of at an angle across the, and I'm like, man, if that happened here, nobody would survive.
no way. No,
Major bunny trail, but that was fun.
it was. All right. I feel better now.
All right, so going back to 1 Samuel, so he selects Saul, and Saul was the king they wanted. He was head and shoulders above everybody else. Good-looking dude, big warrior guy. So that everybody's like, great, we got our king. And Samuel, he was prophesying to Saul, and he says, then the Spirit of the Lord will rush upon you, and you will prophesy with them to be turned into another man. Now when these signs meet you, do what your hand finds to do, for God is with you. And when he turned his back to leave Samuel, God gave him another heart. So it's like God, this is after God said, yeah, you can have a king, but he's going to oppress you. He's going to take all this money from you. You're going to be his slaves. So it's like God knew what Saul was going to be, but God still prophesied that he would rush upon him and change him. And I think that was like momentarily he's going to rush upon Saul, and he's going to enable him to do what God wants him to do to achieve God's purposes. But then when that was over, he's going to draw back and go, okay, Saul's going to be a man, and he's going to oppress people, and he's going to be, he's going to be selfish and all that kind of stuff.
And look what happened to Saul. The dude lost his mind.
Yeah.
And he ended up hiding in a cave. And it's like, who are we putting our trust in? They asked for it. They got it. We got it. But at the end of the day, God is still on the throne. He's sovereign, and things are going to happen based on his plan, not ours.
Well, I think he redirected the U.S. in the last 4 years, right? He said, all right, you guys want to see what this is like? Like, let's go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden we can't decide what a male or a female is. We've got men beating up women in sports. We've got, all these things that they ask for. And all of a sudden, like, some of these people that were all about the left, they're like, well, I don't want men and women's sports.
Or in their locker rooms.
Or in their locker rooms. I don't want my kids identifying as cats, so they have to put litter boxes in the school and all this stuff. Like, it's just like, no, that's not normal, right? Like, let's stop. And I think everybody kind of played along for a minute. Even I did. I had to play along.
Because you were afraid to speak out.
Well, because if I did, I'd lose my job.
Yeah, you'd be labeled.
And be labeled, right? But it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, all right, well, I'm not the crazy one because I don't want to call you a cat. Like, you can identify with whatever you want, but you're not a fucking cat, dude. Like, sorry, you're just weird. Like,
they used to describe it as mental illness and needed help.
It was in there's a book, the DSM, that psychologists use to describe what mental illnesses are. And they had different versions. Back in the day when I was in college, it was DSM-4. And it was in there. It was it was transgender dysphoria or something like that. Dysmorphia or something.
Yeah. What encouraged me about that passage was that we knew that Saul wasn't a godly guy. He wasn't really wholeheartedly following God, but he still rushed upon Saul to defeat some of the enemies. It was like that was God's plan all along. So he just used Saul for that. But then when he withdrew from him, then Saul was himself and he oppressed the people, and he did all these bad things, and the people were worse off from it. Kind of like Samson also. Whenever you read about Samson, God used him to judge the Philistines, but it always says before he did anything great, it always says that then the Spirit of the Lord came upon him and he was able to do these great feats of strength. And then when God withdrew, then he just fell apart and he was a piece of crap.
It's not on what we do, and that's the problem. We make ourselves gods. We try to circumvent what God's plan has been for thousands and thousands of years. And when we do that, we fail. My heart is for people to wake up and realize you can do nothing unless you have Christ. Mm-hmm. It'll always fail. And we have seen that. Once the scripture says, if my people will humble themselves and seek my face, and then I will heal their land, that is powerful.
Well, the idea, and it's not going to be a very popular comment, but I don't care. The idea behind Marxism is actually perfect. What they're trying to describe in Marxism, which is the core communism, is a society where everyone is equal. Mm-hmm. Everyone is in this euphoria, this utopia, where everybody just gets everything they need, and we just all share, and we're all good boys and girls and all that, which is ironic because that's what we had before the fall.
Right.
But we don't have that in the world because sin entered the world, and we can't do it. That's God's plan, is for us all to have everything we ever wanted, everything we ever needed, to be in this perfect body, in this perfect world, and have all the gifts that he has to give us, right? But because sin's in the world, we get in the way of that plan. So it will fail every single time because of the sin factor, the greed, the envy, all these things, right? So, yeah, in theory, Marxism sounds great, but it doesn't work because God's not in the picture anymore.
Exactly.
Well, because you got sinful people that are ruling it, and so we always deal with greed and power, and so that's always going to lead people down the wrong path. So there's no way that you could set that up and have it succeed, because somebody's going to get greedy, somebody's going to be addicted to power, and they're going to oppress the other people, and it always ends up falling apart.
Michelle always gave a good example to her students, and that was, all right, you're studying, you're doing the things that you need to get A's. You're getting A's. You're doing the best you can. But you got this student that does absolutely nothing. That's getting D's. Well, as a teacher, I'm going to take away from you this A person, and I'm going to bring the D person up. We're going to lower your grade. We're going to raise your grade for the kid that does absolutely nothing. What do you think that A student's going to do?
Less.
Exactly. Right. That's the problem with communism and Marxism. It's not for the people. The communism only benefits the oligarchy, the people up in high places, because they're still rich. They're still doing capitalism, where the people are the ones that are waiting in line. Remember the bread lines in Russia? I mean, like 4 hours, 5 hours for a loaf of bread? That's what these young people want on these campuses? You really think that those of us that are working our butts off and producing are going to continue to do that when And I think that's what spoke. The money that was given out to I have no problem with people coming to the United States. Do it legally. But the illegals they're getting driver's licenses and healthcare benefits. And
well, that's why the Hispanic vote was so high. Like, I mean, I saw like polls of like Hispanics in different like interviews, and they're like, "Hey, we saved up for years to come here. We went through the border the right way. Like, we pay our taxes. We do what we're supposed to.
We assimilated and have become American citizens."
They're like, "This is actually a spit in our face that we did it the way we're supposed to, but yet now you're going to let these people in."
Yeah.
You know.
So what is our message? Okay, to all the meltdown and all the. Because we still have to go about life, and we're going to come across people. We had a couple people in our neighborhood that had Harris Wall signs. I'm not going to treat them any differently now than the way I did before. Sorry, guys. And so I'm going to be the same, you know. But the opposite isn't true, you know.
But I think that's what kills it, right? Like, if you like. Whenever I get in these conversations, people have different views, right? Like, and I've told you before, I've had some gay friends. Like, I work with a gay guy, several gay people. I have, you know, and the topic comes up, and instead of going the other direction, I just go right into it. I'm like, hey, man, it's your choice. Like, I still love you no matter what. I have an opinion on it, but you don't care. So,
right.
But if you want to hear it sometime, I'll be happy to tell you.
But you're not going to treat them any differently.
No, I'm like, so, because, you know, one of my friends, in the past, I mean, she just got out of a lesbian marriage. Like, she broke up with him, and I was like, and they gave her the opportunity at that point to say, hey, do you think that's really who you are? And she's like, I'm not sure. And I was like, well, maybe that's why it didn't work. You know, you grew up in a Christian home, you grew up in a Christian house, and you know what God's values are. It's like, maybe you should consider just being celibate for a while and just diving into that and figure it out.
So as believers and believing the Bible and studying it, we know who the real enemy is. Mm-hmm. We know that Satan is he's the enemy of our souls and everything. But does the other side, the people who don't believe in God, do they even know who the enemy is? Because a lot of times I feel like anybody who disagrees with them is the enemy. You know, you hear, to me, you hear a different level of vitriol from that side when they don't win.
Oh, gosh.
Where they're saying, you know, it's the end of democracy and, you know, all these people are garbage and stuff like that. I feel like you hear that more from that side because they don't have a belief system that knows who the enemy really is. A lot of people deny that there's a God. They deny there's a Satan, that there's a hell. So who's the enemy? Like, who is the enemy?
The irony is like the Christian doesn't make them an enemy. They love them all the time.
That's what I'm saying.
So what they're doing is demonizing us as the enemy. So like the enemy's making us the enemy.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, because I guess they feel more threatened. And so who's, you know, the people standing up against their ideology that are now the enemy. If people come against our ideology, we say, well, I don't agree with it. But they're not the enemy. Satan is. We're coming against Satan. Again, it's a 30,000 foot view versus a 6 foot view.
That's a good point.
Everything you believe is what you see in front of you.
Well, I mean, if you don't know where you're heading at the end, life becomes really scary. But like for the Christian, the person that knows where their salvation lands, I mean, it's not that scary.
No, it's not.
Right. It's not that I'm looking forward to the pains that are coming in my life.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's going to suck for the next, I probably got 40 years. You know what I mean? But then, I'm 40 now. I probably got 35 years. So, I mean, like, I'm pushing for 75.
It's a win.
I'm not going to make it tomorrow.
Jesus will be back by then.
Well, and that's kind of where I think I just have this sense inside of me that says this is like some of the last pushes before the end. Like Satan's doing everything he can to grab on and ruin as much as he can because the world's bigger than it's ever been. We're more in touch with each other than we've ever been. And it's just like, all right, if I can ruin your life in 4 years, what really happened in 4 years? Not that much.
No.
Like in the grand scheme of like the world and the changes in the world, 4 years didn't change that much. And yet here we are talking about it, not happy about it, but like reality, it's not that big a deal. Like that's less than one of God's blinks.
We did get to see evil really escalate.
That's my point, though. I think it's like we're starting to see this trajectory where it's like, all right, we're really coming in hard now because I don't have that much longer. You know, when beings are dying, they know the end's coming. And I feel like Satan kind of knows that.
The thing about this and our belief as believers is that we have the same heart of God. And I've said it before, he wants nobody to perish. So this is our opportunity to talk to people and say, look, you've put all of your trust in the government, in this one particular candidate, in the policies that were pushing, and now where are you at? Was that successful? No. Let me tell you about someone who can change your life, give you peace, give you rest, and if you just trust in Christ, all things will be added unto you.
You know, like you're saying, Jeremy, as believers, because we have that security in our future, we can be kind to people who don't believe what we believe. We can, try to offer some hope or some comfort to the people. Because I believe that there are people that are truly despondent right now because of the election and are truly, they think it's all over.
I know,
but we can at least, still be compassionate and kind to them because we know that God is still in control and He's going to do what He wants.
I didn't change after Biden. In fact, it caused me to realize it's not in a man. Right. I stopped all the political garbage.
Yeah. Right. Well, so yeah, if you see people out there that are freaking out, canceling classes or whatever, you can offer to pray for them.
Love on them.
Or hand them a support squirrel or duck or whatever the hell they're giving out now.
Carry a few support ducks with you, put them in their car.
That's a real thing, by the way. I'm not making that up. I'm not making it up. It was on Fox News last night. I think it was Michigan or...
One of the Jeep owners have them all across their dash because they can drive in a piece of crap.
Yeah, I don't get the whole duck thing on the Jeep. I mean, why ruin a perfectly good vehicle?
No,
people love it though, man.
It's crap.
They're all into it.
Don't buy one. It's the worst vehicle you can possibly buy. Anyway.
I will not buy a vehicle unless you approve.
Okay, thank you.
Check with Michael before buying a vehicle. So
email me.
Email us. Go to our website, impactministries.org, and email Michael for advice on a good car to buy.
That's right.
Or if you don't want to do that, hit a like or a share button somewhere in here.
Yeah. Share it with your friends. Spread the word. So,
Trey, we miss you, buddy.
Yeah, we miss Trey today.
Shut up.
Oh, boy. We give him a hard time. Hopefully he'll be back next week. I don't know. It feels like the rest of the year somebody's going to be out of town each week. So maybe Three Stooges for the rest of the year. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, we're going to turn it around. I was just trying to work on my trade. We're going to turn things around. We're going to put a bow on this. So with that said, we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Those are all the catchphrases. Right? Did I miss one?
No, but you listen to these more than we do.
Sure, yeah. On the flip side, we'll catch you on the flip side next week. With that being said, I'm Brad.
I'm Michael.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are the
Cussin Christians.
Amen, man.
See you next week.
Peace.
I got to go find liberals to talk to.
Oh, man.
Meltdown. All right, guys. I love
Look
you.
up the support duck.